I started to read this next book on holodynamics, and when I turned my video on, this is the picture that came out of the camera. I'm still using it the same as I do every day, and I suspect it's the lighting in the room, that if I open the light, it floods it too much. And if I make the dark closer, then it gets more normal. But isn't that odd of how the streaming of the light became so powerful? Like, you can't even get that perfect spot to get it as strong as what it was when I first started this video. Let me see if I can get it back. It was like the weirdest freaking thing. Like, now I can't. Oh, here it is. You can't even get it as back as what it was. It was like that 1 second in time that I just turned that video on that made this streaming light. Pretty wild. Anyways, the next book that I want to read is more of Dr. Wolf's first book that came out. It is the book titled Holodynamics, and I find this one really interesting. It's almost like start right off at the introduction of it to get a good understanding of it. But I'm getting a lot of people that are very interested in this, and that you couldn't give me a better gift than just sharing an interest in the same things that I find interesting, especially in times of today. So I'll start reading this new book. It's Holodynamics. The last book I read was The Dance of Life. This was his newest book. This one was written, and this one, although it'll give you more of a description on healing as possible. See, he even signs his own book. Guy should be busy, but I think that you can see. And see, this one's written in 1990. So we've known this information. It's been out in the universe for a long time. And the last ending of this last book, you can see that his heart was broken, and as is mine. And it's really odd that my family genetics, the only thing my family dies of is heart problems. So I've got a genetic family that dies from their hearts being broken. And I truly believe that they all meant well, although there was a very abusive lineage. And it is heartbreaking when other people don't see the same picture as you see. And we're all on our own journeys. I know that I supported everything that was wrong. I was the player in the game. And that broken heart is the lack of understanding of how I play in my own game. And it's something that I would suggest to everybody. But kind of see, like, this guy ended up creating systems that can transform all toxic waste into pure clean energy because of him being poisoned with this high-grade uranium. If that didn't happen to him, he wouldn't have been able to figure out how we transform all of this toxic waste, all of this poison that's on the planet. And now we have that technology, thankfully, because he was, you know, this assassination attempt. So solutions are driven by our problems, and it's our overcoming of these problems that unfold who we were meant to be. I truly hope that this Dr. Wolf has healed his heart. I'm not sure that he has. when I started talking to this guy, when I first ordered the books, I asked him what he's doing with his stuff. And right away, a massive wall went up. I could sense it. I'm hypersensitive. So it was one of those conversations where you ask a question and they don't answer you. And then it's a struggle to ask the next question because you feel so uncomfortable. I mean, the wave sensation I felt from asking that question was like I was sinning or something. And, it really left me perplexed as to why the block. What is the problem with me asking, what are you doing with all of this? And then after I read all of the books, I could see that, okay, he's got some holodynes going on with him doing something and getting assassinated every time he tries to do something to help heal the planet. So with this great technology that he has, he's got this really warped reality with money, and he could have taken advantage of the dysfunction of our money to unfold some better changes. In the ending of the story and why he got poisoned, he got caught up in the game. And that's what's happening with a lot of us, is that you'll notice yourself getting caught up in the game, and when you get caught up in the game of life, then you can't step back and sort of use your holodynamic view and understanding of the world to make sure you're not caught up in the game. And that's where anytime a challenge comes up, it's like I feel it. I just, okay, can't change this. Feels really horrible. So there's nothing that I can do about it except for feel the pain of the experience and just keep asking questions. Okay, what's good about this? And every single time that I'm able to do that, I'm able to see something that's good about it. But when you're caught up in the game, trust, you're designing some kind of flawed holodyne that, while caught up in that anger, while caught up in that game, you are creating holodynes that are going to screw up the planet. And there goes my son again, which, it's the cat moving now. The cat's sitting on the top of my chair and moving this light. So I'm going to just read the book with the background like that, because maybe you need to see some light beam energies as I read this book instead of just looking at me. Introduction. I would like to present to you 8 of the most powerful principles in the universe. These principles are particle. They have been tested again and again. They work. They work for individuals, for families, for businesses. They work on the street. They help solve some of the deepest problems facing humanity. And because they work, they hold out hope for the future. They were not always apparent to me, as I was called late at night to work with people in crisis, or knelt beside an addicted or an alcoholic in the street, or counseled parents of adolescents in trouble, or helping someone release deep anger in therapy. But gradually over the years, I came to understand that something very powerful is at work in every one of us, and that each life, no matter how tragic or triumphant, unfolds according to these same basic principles. And these are really powerful statements. The 8 principles of holodynamics. 1. The universe is holodynamic. All matter, energy, and intelligence, past, present, and future, are part of one dynamic whole. That explains time. If you can see everything all at once, and it's all happening all at once in our now moment. 2. The universe contains living thought forms called holodynes, with the power to manifest reality in all dimensions. Thought forms, those are beliefs. I just wish he'd kind of rename that and say the universe contains living belief systems called holodynes with the power to manifest reality in all dimensions. And that's basically is like, change your belief, you'll change your reality. Number 3, the universe has an underlying enfolding order, the implicit order. 4, within the implicit order, the mind, holodynes, human beings and all manifested reality follow the same 6 stages of development. 5. The manifested reality has both a particle and a wave function, which the mind reflects through its rational and intuitive processes, respectively. Change occurs holodynamically. This is number 6. Change occurs holodynamically. To change any holodyne is to change the physics of the mind. To change the physics of the mind is to change the physics of the universe, past, present, and future. The physics of the mind is your belief system. So you need to go back in history, find out where you developed the belief system, and change that belief. Because chances are, you form some form of belief during some terror experience. And, it might have kept you safe in that moment, but you formed a belief that you'll never get rid of unless you recognize it and transform it. And it could have been developed back in time. A lot of our wars, when they started, what got us angry is maybe 300 or 400 years ago, but we're still fighting about something people who are dead actually created, and we act as if it's happening today. But the only thing that's happening is you throw a stone, I throw a stone, you throw a stone, I throw a stone. Half of the time the stories are completely changed. Okay, number 7, every human being has a primary controlling holodyne called the I, or full potential self. Number 8, holodynamics of the mind can apply systematically to solve every problem of human experience. Basically, that statement means this is a tool that can solve every problem known to man. As I sensitized myself to what really worked for people, how they came into themselves, how they align themselves with health and growth, how they solve their problems, and then how relationships and even systems mature and solve their problems, I found these principles very universal. They applied at all levels of human experience. To understand holodynamics, I needed to go beyond the limits of conventional thinking, beyond physics, psychology, philosophy, religion, and their Newtonian worldview to the new sciences of the quantum age. My own experience had taught me that intuition was by far my greatest gift. I could have, as a therapist, that all the rational training I had gone through was of very little use in healing and helping on the street. Somehow it was intuition that really counted. But how could intuition be explained from a rational perspective? Sometimes I could sense intuitively what the problem was, even though I had little rational information about it. That deep sense began to fascinate me. I taught myself how to apply my sensory perception processes to the intuitive part of my mind. This opened doors that have never been opened before. Learning to use my senses on my intuitive mind was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I found myself in possession of the greatest computer I could ever imagine. It was my intuitive mind, my right brain, that took in the totality of things from a wave perspective that dealt with things as part of one dynamic whole. And that is something that these elite families or politicians or the corporate world all is designing you not to pay attention to your intuition, and yet it will act as like the internet. You can access every friggin' information known out there to the human experience using your intuitive mind. But there is a process, and you can see that even this Dr. Wolf, who knows this shit, ended up losing his intuitive mind because he got caught up in the negative emotions of what was going on. He was setting up these conferences, things weren't working out, he started getting into a fear-based. The way he was handling the event horizons, the event that was going on, he was in confusion and frustration and, negative feelings. And when you use those negative feelings and emotions while using your intuitive mind, you're getting all wrong information. It's like talking to evil. But if you have that loving place inside you, that place of peace throughout any experience, your intuition will guide you perfectly. I'll move to another tape.